So let me now turn to our international affairs editor, Rochelle Ferguson. Rochelle, how are opposition parties likely to respond to Andy Burnham taking on the job?
Well, I think that there's already been some scepticism that's been shown because of, what we've been talking about. There's no mandate as such. Parliament is in recess. There's no real anything to go against what Andy Burnham says for the time being. So I think that, this idea that there's not a mandate, he's been criticised already about his policies not being clear. I know that you were speaking there about, the international stage, and we spoke about this, microcosm of being mayor of Greater Manchester to becoming the person in the reins at Whitehall. And then, of course, there's the bigger international stage. There's the question of the UK's relationship with the EU. Where will that go? We know that Keir Starmer had signed a number of agreements, but they're in their infancy, really, to begin with. And it will be interesting to see how Andy Burnham takes those on as he goes forward. So I think there's a lot to be said. This idea, even people within the Labour Party have spoken about his policies being something of a mystery. Those certainly who didn't vote for him, if they weren't among the 379 people who voted for him. So I think what we'll be looking for, or what he's, people who are not convinced by Andy Burnham at this stage will be looking for, is clearer policies to see, what priorities will take place when, and of course this burning question of who will be in his cabinet to execute some of those policies.
And one person we've forgotten about, haven't we, Rochelle, is the weary voter. The British electorate, 7 prime ministers in a decade, the revolving door that is number 10 Downing Street.
Absolutely.
And his biggest job is going to convince them to vote for him in 2029.
I mean, you spoke about that revolving door. Just a reminder to our viewers that King Charles, who is going to receive Keir Starmer, so Keir Starmer in private today, this will be the 4th time that the King has done this since 2022. So let's just look back here. We've got Andy Burnham, of course, he'll meet after Keir Starmer, Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, who was the head of the country for a very short time. So, already, just in terms of the optics there, for King Charles, this is the 4th time in a very short space of time. For the voter, then, you can imagine what that does. There is a lot of scepticism amongst British people. Is this going to be more of Keir Starmer and the same? Are we going to be, ushering Andy Burnham in today, but 2 years later, as we've done with Keir Starmer, be ushering him out the door? So I think there's a great deal of scepticism, and I think that's why Andy Burnham's speech on Friday was so set on hope and this idea that, politics needs to take a new, very clear direction and end political infighting. So I think that the voter is quite weary at this stage.
Rochelle Ferguson, thank you.